Hmm? Ah!
You're listening to the Run for Your Lives podcast.
Hey everyone, welcome to the show. I'm Daphne.
And I'm Pake.
And this is the Run for Your Lives podcast.
This episode is the British apocalyptic black comedy film Silent Night, written and directed by Camille Griffin and released on AMC Plus December 3rd, 2021. And also, Merry Christmas! Happy holidays! Happy whatever you celebrate, whoever you are. I start with Christmas because it is a Christmas movie. It's a Christmas special because that's just personally what me and Daphne choose to celebrate this holiday season. But to anything else that any of you listening celebrate, have a great, wonderful, happy holiday season. We're releasing this just before Christmas, a couple days before, like 3 days before. And yeah, I'm excited. I love Christmas time, Christmas movies. And isn't this one just a bundle of joy and heartwarming, cheer, right?
Well, I don't know what movie you watched. Movie I watched didn't have, well, there were some great moments, but the ending was a tad depressing.
Mm-hmm. With misery and sadness for all.
Yes. Pretty much. So depressing. Yeah. I actually questioned after I watched it, should we really do this?
Yeah, it was like an elephant sitting on a Coca-Cola truck, right? So depressing. Okay.
Yes.
If only they could see Daphne's face, but you could probably feel the hatred emanating from your phone or computer right now. That's fine.
No, there's no hatred. Minor annoyance, maybe.
Yes.
But not hatred. Never hatred. Yeah, I have lots of thoughts on this one.
Good.
And like I said, I questioned, should this be the holiday special? But we've never shied away from movies that didn't quite end in the most happily ever after way. So right. I think it works.
Absolutely.
There's a lot to talk about. But yeah, we'll get there. There's so much. But in order to get there, we actually have to start. And so we're going to start the way we always do with a few production notes. Was filmed at Surge Hill in Hertfordshire, United Kingdom. It wrapped up filming 2 days before the first UK lockdown for the COVID-19 pandemic. It's a directorial debut for Camille Griffin, which, I'm going to say this before we even get any further, that name may sound familiar to folks. 3 of her children were actually in this movie.
Mm-hmm. All 3 of her sons were cast in this movie. She got to... So she's got to be a big fan of like the dark comedy because she cast her own children in these roles. So.
She did. It premiered at the Toronto International Film Festival. That was the debut. It's 92 minutes long because I could not find any box office info, really. And you don't when it's on AMC Plus. So, with that, Pake, give us a synopsis.
All right. Nell, Simon, and their 3 sons are ready to welcome friends and family for what promises to be a perfect Christmas gathering. Well, perfect except for one thing. Everyone's going to die.
Yeah, did you write that one yourself?
I actually did not. That is a promotional one, I think that they used. Yeah, because
it sounds very much like a Pake original.
Yeah.
It does.
Can't take credit for it, but I do like it a lot. I went with that one because it felt very in flavor for what this is and what I like. So yeah.
Yeah, I think it's perfect. Like, it's so much sounds like you wrote it. So what is better than that? Yeah. So about this movie, reminded me a bit of the movie Melancholia.
Yeah, which I have not seen.
Oh boy. Should I
There's
put it on the list?
I mean, you can. You can.
But there were also parts that reminded me of The Happening
Yeah.
and The Mist.
Mm-hmm.
I would say, like, lump all those things together and you would have something similar to this movie. Plus, taking place at Christmas time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. There was a lot to ingest with watching this movie once, and I actually watched it twice because there were things I needed to go back and take notes on and flesh some things out. So I went back and did that. And so I'd be ready to talk about it on this podcast.
Yeah, a lot of good stuff to talk about. I mean, yeah, a lot of heavy stuff, but also a lot of funny moments, a lot of comedy.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of characters, a wide variety of really interesting characters to talk about. And I guess we can talk about those characters. I mean, I also could just let this be an hour and 15 minutes of, you know, the Roman Griffin Davis love hour, you know, just all of our gushing on him as a young actor. But I guess we can talk about other people too if we absolutely have to.
Yeah, he was incredible in this movie. Incredible. For me, he was the best part of the movie. His character, the lines, like all of it. I enjoyed it so much.
Yes.
And yeah, it's interesting. I've never seen him in anything else.
Well, this is only his second film he's ever done. Yeah. So 2 for 2 for Mr. Davis.
And I have not seen Jojo Rabbit, which I know he was in, and I know he was great, but I haven't seen it.
So, yeah, we'll start a little bit on notes, because, you know, we break down characters, and I even gave you a little heads up earlier today where I was like, so all of my sections, I just, like, broke them up by family or couple.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, with the exception being the character of Art, because he's the best, and he gets his own section that is most of the notes. Like, he gets more than everybody else. And yeah, a lot of that, I mean, the character is very important to the movie, but a lot of that is because of the actor. Roman Griffin Davis, like I said, honestly, he's not the sole reason I wanted to cover this movie, but he's one of the big reasons why I wanted to. I love Jojo Rabbit, which was his film debut. It came out in 2019. It's a Taika Waititi film. And Roman, of course, plays Jojo, the main character of that movie. And without giving too much of that one away, I'm just going to say I highly recommend seeing that movie if you haven't. It's pure brilliance. I almost, I think Daphne even texted me while we were still earlier in the day doing prep, where she's like, I really need to watch Jojo Rabbit. And I was like, how do you see my notes? Because so far all they are is me just telling you to watch Jojo Rabbit over and over again for 2 hours.
Yeah, I kind of figured you'd be saying that, but I wanted you to know that I already had it on my radar. Like, it was after watching this movie, it's like, okay, I have to watch Jojo Rabbit because, oh my God.
There's a point halfway through the movie where I was like, man, okay, Jojo Rabbit rewatch is 100% guaranteed happening in the near future. It's imminent. And then I was like, actually, I am buying it off of Amazon right now as I'm typing this note. It's like, I'm buying a physical copy. I'm having it. I was like, I have ways to watch it online, but it's one that's not in my collection. And I was like, it needs to be, so it will be.
You have quite a collection. How many DVDs do you have?
I have no clue. I'm not counting. A lot. Enough. More than I have space for. To where now on the shelves, I'm just stacking them on top of it because I've run out of shelf space left to right. So I need to get a new DVD caddy or something. I've got to figure something out.
You do if you filled it all up. Yeah. My question to you is, are they alphabetized?
Yes. Mostly. They were. And then, like I said, now I've just been kind of stacking them when I've filled them up. So I need to buy a new system new shelving or something, and then like redo and spend like 5 hours of a day just alphabetizing and putting everything up, because that's the person I am. That's what I do.
Yeah, I'm going to check in with you next year and find out if you've done that, and I'm almost willing to bet no.
No, probably
not. I don't think so. You probably
know me.
won't.
Yeah.
I do.
But yeah, back on this. So yeah, Jojo Rabbit, it was Roman's first film ever. Absolutely crushed that. And then this is only his second, and I was like, well, I'm curious to see where he goes. And after this, I was like, yep, 2 for 2. I'm officially on board with anything he ever does. I'm very curious to see where he goes. It's just like, yep, consider me a fan. I will watch anything he does, which then, of course, leads me into looking into the future a little bit. He does have one upcoming film that I'm interested in. It's a Finnish film by the name of A Rare Grand Alignment. And he will be starring in that alongside Felix Jamieson from Raised by Wolves. If anybody ever watched that show on HBO Max, I love that show, and I'm mad forever that it got canceled after season 2, because I want continuous, especially Felix's character. So it'll be good to see him again alongside Roman here, and then also Christopher Hivju as well will be in that movie. So, which of course people know him, Game of Thrones fans and stuff.
Yes.
So yeah.
Yes. Down for that. There were some other familiar faces in this movie, too.
Oh, yeah.
Because we got Keira Knightley, Matthew Good, who people, maybe saw a movie called Watchmen. Not such a nice guy in that movie.
No.
Yeah, I mean, those are just a couple.
Oh, yeah. I've got some notes on some of these these actors and actresses that I'll save it till we get to their character sections. Might as well.
That sounds good.
But first, the just love fest that will be for Roman Griffin Davis and Art. Might as well start there, because Art is the heart of the movie. Yep. Art is the heart. He's so smart. Sharp as a dart is Art, the heart. Becoming Dr. Seuss.
Oh, boy. I did not know you were bringing that into the podcast.
No, right.
Yeah, you're a smartass.
So, all right. Let's do it.
Let's do it. Let's start talking about Art.
Yeah. Well, first off, one of the first things we really get from him is he bleeds all over the freaking carrots. So, that's not sanitary, sir. Why would you do that? But I did think it's funny, because even me, making that joke was like, way to go, kid, bleeding all over the carrots. And then even his mom's comes, did you bleed on the carrots? And he's like, why does that matter? It's like, he's literally like, I'm hurt. Did you care? It's like, yes, your well-being is more important, but and then I'm like, now everybody's coming in here and spitting in this boy's cut. I don't know what they're doing.
Oh, what was up with that? Father's outside chasing the chickens around, trying to get them to leave.
Mm-hmm.
This movie, right from the beginning, seemed a little weird.
Yeah.
And then a child is in the kitchen slicing carrots on his own.
Mm-hmm.
That is not something I would expect. I mean, not that he was super young, but young enough that you're going to leave him in the kitchen with a knife?
Well, I guess in the grand scheme of things with this movie, it's like, I mean, what's a few hours early if something wrong really happens? Oh, no.
Well, true. No. But at that time, we don't really know.
Right.
And for the beginning, all I did was start to pay attention to all the things that were odd.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a lot of little hints. I mean, even before I saw this, I knew what was going on because we watched the trailer before this to kind of decide to jump into it. So I knew it was coming. But still, if somebody went into this completely blind, yeah, there's little hints that seem really weird, but then the answers all come eventually. But a lot of what we see at first is just him, it's this Christmas get together and all these friends and family and everybody showing up, and then seeing him trying to interact with everybody. And, it seems pretty warm for the most part, except I assume his cousin, are Sandra and Nell sisters?
Yes, they are.
I thought so, but I was like, there was a point where it was almost the end of the movie. I was like, I still don't know exactly the relationships between everybody. Are there actual siblings in this? Or is everybody just childhood friends? Or how did they don't really speak to how all that works, but.
Yeah, it sounded like they were all like childhood friends, but Sandra and Nell were definitely sisters.
Yeah. That's what I thought. So yeah, you get cousin Kitty.
Oh, what a piece of work that child. I think she's used to getting everything she wants.
Yeah, she's the Veruca Salt of this movie. She
definitely is.
But yeah, I was with Art pretty early on in the movie where I was like, yeah, you can tell her to fuck right off. She's being creepy with your little brothers.
She wanted to watch. What was up with that?
Like, what is going on? Just leave them be. But, the exchange afterwards there is pretty funny because, when he tells her to fuck off and then she goes and runs to her mom, Sandra, his Aunt Sandra. So you get this little funny exchange in the kitchen with the parents and the kids, which like apparently there's one word that's off limits. They're allowed to swear as much as they want, except for one. And then I love, of course, Art. He is really smart because he knows his aunt telling him, "You're a good boy," means you're an asshole.
Yep.
And then he looks over at his mom, accidentally nodding along with it, like, "Hey."
Yeah. So just odd. I mean, children running around swearing was another. Mm-hmm. Like, what is up with these kids? Art is just the F-bomb out of his mouth.
Mm-hmm.
And then thinking about his mom wrote the screenplay.
Yeah.
So it's kind of comical that she wrote it and her son is just dropping the F-bomb.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure, he had a blast with that. Yeah, but yeah, you see kids running around cursing, all kinds of just like craziness going on. Everyone's snacking on blood carrots. Just your usual Christmas get-together.
What was up with that? I mean...
I want to assume they got washed off, but I don't know.
I don't think so. It didn't look like it to me.
Mm-hmm.
Not at all.
Yeah. But the answers come pretty soon. I guess we realize what's going on, and it finally happens when everybody gets together at Christmas dinner, the actual meal. And then the conversation, of course, turns to bunkers and the Queen, and then leave it to the kids, leave it to the children to have the mature conversation, right?
They were. I mean...
The parents are all trying to keep it under wraps and hush hush and well, just not talk about it and have a good time. And then it's the kids that are like, no, we know exactly what's coming and we've accepted it. So we're going to talk about it. And I love Art has his whole shame on shame on the older generation's speech, basically is what I called it. Even mentions Greta, my name, which is funny.
I loved that. I loved him saying, one of his brothers says, "It's the planet, Kitty." And the other one said, "It's very upset." And then Art just nails it with, "Kitty, for years, the planet's absorbed everyone's filthy rubbish and it's had enough. I can't take it anymore. It can't take it anymore. So it's spitting it back out as a fuck you to the world." And I loved it. And I love that he brought up Greta, and I love that he told the adults, you should all be ashamed of yourselves.
Mm-hmm. That was good. And then they bring up there's a little hint to the plan that England has, which Art says, that's not a plan, it's disaster. I was like, I'm curious what's going to happen, which, again, this movie answers things pretty quickly in the grand scheme of things, because then we see what this plan is, because he's watching on his phone. It's prescribed suicide pills, the exit pill, which I guess is, at first I was like cyanide, but they looked like little red gummies, so I don't
I'm like, are we sure that this is a death pill? Because it looks like a child's vitamin.
Right.
Only supersized.
They're so big. They're massive. But yeah, so that's the plan, is you take those instead of suffering through this cloud of toxic chemicals that's covering the earth, which they're talking about at dinner. Apparently it's already hit a lot of places, America and Africa. And so they kind of have this timetable. They know when it's supposed to arrive.
Yeah,
so
they do. They don't have a lot of time. Mm-hmm. And Art's looking like he's got this hidden cell phone, even though his dad has said, don't go on the TV, don't go on the internet, don't look at anything. But Art is looking because he's a smart kid. He's, interested in what's happening. He wants all the information. And God damn it, if the adults don't want to be honest about it, he's going to find out what's happening.
Yeah.
And I feel like the advertisement that he's looking at talks about the 3 stages, like inhaling is stage 1, attack on the nervous system, stage 2, and then fatal hemorrhaging. Avoid suffering and die with dignity. The exit pill.
Yeah. Which, sets a very somber tone for the whole movie, knowing that that's like, there's been talk of the pact and all this stuff. So you're like, okay, now we see where this is going. Mm-hmm. And so it hits, there's this like somber overtone, but then a lot of the middle is just filled with a lot of humor. It's very dark humor, but I love dark humor a lot. So I'm just laughing through a lot of this. And then like you get to like connect to some of the characters, especially Art. Because during the game of charades, I was like, man, me and this kid are like kindred spirits. Because I feel the same thing watching other people play games and stuff. I'm Art in that situation. He's like watching the background, just annoyed by people not grasping some kind of concept. He goes, fucking hell, 4 words. Why are you people keep guessing 2 and 3 word things? He's like, God damn. And then finally he gives, So finally he gives Sophie the answer because he's sitting there like, fine.
I can't take it anymore.
Yeah. The day after tomorrow, which, an apocalyptic movie for an apocalyptic party, right?
Yes, I think so. Yeah.
Which, again, just a little, like, dark humor. Is like, of course that would be the movie that they're trying to guess in this scenario.
Of course. And I get it now when I look back and looked at what she was doing. And she's, like, growling like the wolves. And it's like, okay, I guess that's it. Mm-hmm. Good job.
She's the big tornadoes in New York City or Los Angeles, It's like she's
she's everything. We'll get to talking more about Nell later, but I think she was a trip herself. Like she was definitely a trip.
Yeah, which more of the dark humor, this Christmas present scene, which I love it. But Kitty talking to her mom, "You're wearing my education on your feet."
Wasn't that was
well, you don't need it
right?
anymore. Great line. And then Art looking at his gifts, and they're all wrapped in newspaper, which just have horrifying headlines and articles about all of the death and suffering globally. And you're like, he's like looking at it like, this is what we're doing. This is where we're at.
He's over it.
Yeah.
And he just looks at her and says, hug your fucking mom, because Kitty was refusing to hug her mom, who she called Sandra and not Mom. Mm-hmm. She was refusing to, even though they had just given her this beautiful doll that looked like her. And Art he couldn't deal with it. He just said, hug your fucking mom. And he threw the present and he left the room.
Yeah. Which it wasn't just Kitty that was bothering him, but it was just everything. He's kind of fed up with a lot of stuff about people. I mean, it's not that they're not taking it seriously, but like he is this like hope. Where he's like, does it really have to be this way? Does it,
mm-hmm.
Where he just kind of feels like all of the adults have given up and this is brewing in his head. And even in this like small act of like, what, it's meaningless. Why are we giving and opening Christmas gifts? It's not going to matter. It's this illusion of normalcy, but we're going to get to play with the toys for an hour and then that's it. As that line is like, the batteries are going to live longer than we do.
I loved that just before that, he does not hold back when he talks to his father and just says, do you and Mom know you're actually stupid? Because you know what? He's over it. He is over it all. It's like he's the only one in the room that's paying attention. And everyone else is just acting like they're in some sort of drug-induced madness.
And there's a lot that he's dealing with. It's like, Art's dealing with some stuff. Poor little dude. So, of course, it's coming out in a lot of aggression or anger towards other people, which I work with children this age. And, that's typically a response that they go to a lot is, I don't know how to deal with this situation. I'm pissed off. I'm scared. I'm concerned. I'm freaked out. I'm upset. So the only way I know how to, express that is just to scream at somebody or to let some kind of aggression out.
Yeah.
And so that's what he's doing. I like that when him and his dad having that conversation on the stairwell where first thing he says to him about Kitty, I really want to hit her. It's like
it's because he knows what's happening. And people are acting in such a way that it's just making him feel like he's the only one. He's on an island of one in the middle of people that are just not listening or thinking, because they've already made up their minds.
Yeah.
What they're going to do.
Right. And then there's still all this fighting and stuff going on, and he's just, it's in this place where it's like he's wanting all the bullshit to stop while he's dealing with his own and everyone else's imminent mortality, and also just really taking advantage of his use of the F word that he's got permission for.
I did not keep account of how many times he dropped the bomb, but
that would have been fun. Just
quite a
Art's
few.
F word count. The movie. Where are we at on the fuck meter today? But yeah, he was
many more than what we saw in Tremors. Let me just say that.
Definitely many, many more.
Yeah.
But it was fun because watching this, there was a moment where I really connected him to another character in another movie that we recently covered, where I made a thought, and I was like, Art is reminding me a lot of Charlie, the son from The Purge, that we also either have recently covered or will release later, depending on the release schedule. I'm not actually sure, but so either it just came out or it'll be very soon, and you guys know that, and that's fine. Because, so a little hint if it hasn't come out yet. That's fine, I'll talk about it, because there's the character Charlie, the son there. And really, without going too much into that character, both of them are empaths. Is kind of the way I described Charlie. And that one, too, is like, they feel a lot of pain and worry for other people.
Yes.
Because even Art here, it's not just about his immediate family and himself, but even he's having these conversations with his dad and with James about, well, what about the homeless people and the immigrants and the people who are not given the pill or who are just pushed to the side? It's like, that's not fair. Why are we not worried about them? Somebody needs to do something about them. That is a big sticking point to him. And yeah, it's a character trait that I really, really, really like.
Me too. I connect with it.
So that was like, maybe the two of these characters, Art and Charlie, is like, maybe they're going to have to duke it out at the end of the season for like some character awards. Of course, they'd likely want each other to win. So
yeah, because that's how they are. I mean, that's how their characters are.
Yeah.
I found it interesting that his dad really just tried, I guess in some way, to be honest, and just said, all we can do is take our pills and choose not to suffer. And Art grasps on to that one word, choose.
So I have a choice? Yeah.
Yeah. Because you can tell at this point that he's just been collecting information. And at this point in the movie, I started to think he doesn't want to do this. He doesn't want to do it. He doesn't want to take the pill. He keeps reading about it. He keeps trying to understand what's happening, but he doesn't want to do it.
Yeah. Even though this movie is very bleak and depressing.
Yes. If
you look at it through a certain lens, and I'll talk about it more when we kind of get to the end of his section here, it is a movie about hope.
It is.
And not much. It's like just the tiniest bit, tiniest little sliver of hope, but that's what his character hinges on. And that's what makes his character, is that tiny little sliver of hope. Which, yeah, most of it was very humorous and heartwarming from time to time, but I was like, man, I have a feeling at a certain point, like after that conversation with his dad, I was like, the tough stuff is coming. And I was like, am I going to cry watching this one?
You could.
So I'll let you know what to do. Now, but yeah, so there's times, we kind of see them trying to get stuff together, whether it's dancing or drinking or eating, conversations, catching up. A lot of the kids are just kind of playing video games and watching movies. And I was like, oh, look, my dear close personal best friend, Henry Thomas, made a very slight small appearance. Extremely briefly. You didn't even really see his face, but he's there.
Yes, I noticed that.
But yeah, so on the crying front, it didn't take too long. I didn't actually cry. Surprisingly enough, I thought this was going to get me. I got very close. That was the scene with the grandmother, with Nell's mother.
Oh man,
over Zoom.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I thought that might get you.
it was really sad. And then Art was just so hurt that he didn't get a proper goodbye. That was something he just really, really stuck to. And I was like, I didn't cry. I was close, but I made it. And then I almost spoke too soon, because then you see Art looking at the photo of him and his grandma on his phone, and it was just like, watery eyes, but no runners. Yeah. We're not. But that's it. It hits really hard. It hits home really hard for me. Because I lost my grandmother actually right around the time this movie came out.
Yeah.
And so I'm kind of glad I didn't watch it when it first released, because that would have crushed me. But
yeah.
But I get that sentiment, like that, the importance of that, of him looking at those pictures, because I'll be honest, I'll be, vulnerable here. I still have voicemails from my grandmother saved on my phone. I will not let those go, and I'll go back and listen to them from time to time. So I get it. It's definitely one of those things.
I thought it was the only one that had stuff like that, but I have one of my mom, and I have my nephew when he was 3 years old, and he had not really talked very much.
Yeah.
He grew up and had Asperger's, and so he didn't talk a lot, and he sang happy birthday to me.
Aw.
And I've saved it on my phone. I'm like, I gotta keep this because it's just something that's really special.
Yeah.
But I knew with the scenes about the grandmother that you were gonna... that it was going to affect you.
Oh, yeah, for sure. But, yeah, just more or less, we could just talk about a lot. Because, again, Mr. Griffin Davis, this kid is incredible.
Every scene.
Yeah, especially, again, talking this scene between Art and James was such a powerful scene, too, where he's asking, he's just, almost begging. He's like, you're a doctor. You're a cancer doctor. You're supposed to save people. Do something. You can do something. Why are you just giving in like everybody else? He's questioning the validity of everything. What if? It's these tiny little things of hope. He's letting his heart gush out everywhere, where it's just this just spout of just, everything that's in his head. And it's stuff that, if you really think about it, you're like, it's not even possible. But he's just letting his heart out. And he's like, well, we could do this. What about this? What about this? What if it's the scientist who's some, the really smart scientist died. And so then it was the lazy one that didn't really care. And he forgot to upload a file. And then he died. And so now.
And then he died.
I like that line.
Yeah.
What if one of those shit scientists is in charge of whether I live or die? And he's just thinking about every single possibility and really trying to hold on to every little thing. And then the line that really hit me that I really, really enjoyed is James saying to him, life isn't fair, Art. And his response is, that's what people say when they don't want to find a solution.
I love that. And you know what? That is what I'm going to hold on to that line.
Yeah.
I'm going to hold on to it because I've heard that. I've heard people in my lifetime say, well, you want life to be fair, but it's not fair. And that really stuck with me, that line. I had a feeling that Art was having that conversation with James, and I know that Sophie was there too. I feel like he felt like he could talk to them because he had talked to his dad earlier, and it just didn't seem like it was getting across. And I think he was just really looking for someone to listen to him.
Yeah.
And help him because he doesn't want this end. He's a kid. He had his whole life ahead of him. He doesn't want to be thinking, about death. He shouldn't be thinking about death.
Yeah. That's I guess a turning point really for this movie. There's still some really funny scenes that shouldn't be funny, but they are to me because that's the dark, terrible, twisted humor I have, which is exactly why this movie was made for people like me. But yeah, that really takes a turn for things get more serious, and there's not even just what's happening and what the characters are doing, but just the tone of the movie, even cinematically.
Oh my gosh.
I just I want to point out I think maybe my favorite scene cinematically in this movie. I really appreciate it. Is the family is downstairs having this dance party to Fame.
I want to live forever.
Yeah, and there's this while Art is struggling kind of on his own upstairs, or he's with Sophie, but, you know, and like they're dancing. And then Art says, I don't want to give up. And then it follows to the music switching to Silent Night.
Oh, man.
Which is the name of this movie and stuff. But it takes that more somber approach. And yet the dance party is still going on the same, even to this slower, kind of sadder sounding song, intercut with like the gas rolling in somewhere else. And, you know, as we know, it's getting closer. And I just thought that was an incredibly well shot and thought of scene, like cinematically, tonally, what they were really conveying there.
Definitely. The whole scene of the empty streets. And you get that first glimpse, the empty streets, you get the train station. It's all empty, it's dark, and then you see the gas coming in. I don't think I'm going to be able to listen to that song again without thinking of this movie, because it just was incredibly impactful. Blew me away. I was just like, it was just so eerie, and the version of the song that they used just made it even more subtly intense.
Yeah.
Because you could just feel the clock ticking almost. Like you could just tell the time was running out. Mm-hmm. And that made me sad. Because especially for Art, because I just felt like he was trying so hard. Yeah. And then the biggest scene to me was when he's in the car with his parents.
Yeah, which I will mention one thing before that, because kind of what leads to that is he was having this conversation with Sophie, looking for somebody to listen to, and then that's why he felt comfortable enough to tell her, I don't want to take the pill. I think I'm not going to do it. And that's where she responds to him that she doesn't plan on doing it either, and she gives him the reason, and he really latches onto that too. And again, it's kind of funny, not really funny, but it is kind of funny, just like to see how, because, then Nell walks in and just how matter of fact he is. He goes, Sophie's pregnant and doesn't want to kill the baby, so I'm going to stay alive and hold her hand until she dies. Is that okay with you? Like, he's made up his mind. And I was like, man, I love this kid, that he's just like very matter of fact, like, here's what I'm going to do. Cool. Got it.
Yeah, no, not cool with his parents.
Yeah. So that's what leads to that conversation out there. And he's got his mind completely made up. He's very angry with his parents. He's telling me, he's viewing this pill being forced on him as his parents killing him.
Yep, as murder. He accuses his parents of wanting to murder him. Mm-hmm. And he even pleads with his father, Dad, stay with me. I want to live. I can't do it on my own. I need you here with me. Mm-hmm. And he even lashes out at them, saying, at least Sophie cares about her child. Yeah. Which hurt them. I mean, he was causing, in that scene in the car, he caused a lot of pain to his parents. Mm-hmm. The things that he was saying to them. They tried to reassure him that they had thought this through and come up, it always led to the same place. Yeah. And in the grand scheme of things, you really think, I don't know if I could put myself in this position necessarily, like what decisions I would actually make given this exact scenario. It's tough. So if you look at it from like Nell and Simon's side, it's like, no, they're making a very sensible argument. Yeah. They absolutely. But with Art, he is steadfast because he is not going to let go of that tiny little bit of hope that he's got burning inside of him. He's not letting it go. He's not ready to close the door. Mm-hmm. And they try to remind him that they're his family, and he just says before he runs away, not if you kill me, we're not. Mm-hmm. Because it's what he doesn't want. He, again, like you said, is holding on to this little bit of hope that maybe he could survive. Yeah. And then, he runs off after that, and it's, man, just like the most intense moment of the movie where he runs off. He finds Belinda, the chicken. Yep. But also he finds this car with a family in it who took the pills early. An entire family, a little baby, everything. And it
it really scares the shit out of him. And enough to the fact that he really doesn't even take much notice or care to this little toxic twister that goes right around him, sucking in the gas with his screams. And it's just like, that was hard to watch, because just knowing what we've been told and what we've been shown this whole movie, look what they're doing to my boy. I'm worried for my boy.
It was so rough.
Yeah.
So rough. And you could just see how horrified, terrified. I mean, it's like he couldn't comprehend what he was seeing. Mm. And why would he? He's a kid.
Yeah.
Coming up across this car. I mean, and they're all listening to the same damn Christmas song.
Mm-hmm.
The same one that everyone was listening to at the beginning, and they've got it going in their car, and they're all dead. And he's just distraught. Yeah.
And it's everything just for him. It's like a very downhill slope there. You know, we see already as he's having trouble walking, and his father has to carry him back in, and then we see him just get sleepier and sleepier. And then, of course, the scene, like, he's left alone in his room. And it's frustrating because, like, Sophie almost went in to check on him. And then Nell is like, no, you go away. And then, like, she's trying to tell her, like, something's going on. You need to see. And then Nell just closes the door on her. Like, and there's, like, that little moment where you're like, she is not going to be there. Like, her whole thing is she doesn't want her children to die alone. And yet now, because of her, he is. And that was really tough. And then, of course, then you get the scene. I mean, he's sitting there writhing in his bed. It's not easy to watch. And I mean, I thought he was gone at that moment. And so when Nell does come in and he's still breathing, I was like, okay.
All right.
Maybe there's a little hope. And then she's holding him, but then it still turns. And then I was like, damn, like that reveal when she like turns him over to like give him the pill or whatever. And he's
oh my God,
gone. And it was, I knew it was coming, but like, damn.
That just ripped my guts out.
Mm-hmm.
Ripped him out. It was just depressing. Just depressing.
Yeah.
And it instigates everyone in the room, his parents and his brothers, they all take the pills and lay down.
Yeah.
And I was just gutted. I'm like, you can't know. A lot of the light and joy in this movie was him through his eyes. And kids always, to me, seem like a beacon of hope.
Yeah.
Like, for things to get better. So, watching that happen and the convulsing and then seeing the reveal of his, eyes and nose like the blood. It really was like a punch to the gut.
Yeah. It was rough. Of course, then, everybody then takes the pills. We'll talk about people specific, and then kind of as the, storm, as the cloud, the gas rolls in throughout the night, they all drift away, and they're all gone. But then the next morning, snow is falling. It's Christmas morning. And then how did I know? The camera is like panning, like sitting there focused on Art. And I told myself, if he opens his fucking eyes, I swear to Christ. And then it happened. And I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
How did I know that he was going to wake up at the end? Fuck. Because then I was like, that's a tragic ending. Even more than the other probably is him waking up.
Alone.
And he really is alone. Like everybody's gone. And so like, I felt like that's even more tragic. That's even more bleak. But then maybe it isn't. And it took me going online and looking up a little something. And I found something that I thought was really cool. This is it's from Entertainment Weekly, but they had talked to Keira Knightley about the end of the movie. And so I've got, from Entertainment Weekly, her thing. First they say, Keira Knightley says that the film's creators were adamant about celebrating the rising generation's tenacity when it comes to protecting the planet. And so there's a quote from Keira Knightley. She says, "We shot it both ways, one where he died and one where he wakes up. And I was strongly for the fact that he had to wake up because there had to be hope. You grow up and you learn fear. You learn how difficult things are, so you basically become obsolete. In your fear, you wall yourself up and you just become afraid. Of course you're going to take the pill, because you're never going to believe that there's anything beyond that. You'll believe that we're all done for. The whole idea is that with youth, because of their naivety, that is their power, that they still have hope. And if there's hope, there can be change.
That is so powerful.
Yeah.
That's incredibly powerful. I was glad that his eyes opened. I don't know what world he was really waking up to, but I was glad that he had the chance to actually wake up, like that he opened his eyes.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's what he wanted.
Yeah.
He wanted the chance. And who knows? I mean, because his parents thought he was dead already, they didn't give him the pill. So he didn't have that, and he was able to wake up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of speculation, even for me, is like, what happened? What does that mean? And it's like, the first thing I can think of is like, well, he was affected, he was infected from one of the little twisters, which I remember him watching that video saying, they have some of the poison gas in them, and they come before the storm. And it was enough to cause some of the hemorrhaging, but it wasn't a lethal amount. And it was enough for him his body to shut down long enough for the rest of the gas to pass through before he woke back up, so he didn't actually like take anything in. So it almost seems that like the way he got infected is maybe what saved his life.
I wondered about that. That was kind of what I was thinking. Is that he got that small dose, and that small dose almost protected him.
Yeah.
Such a bleak ending, but I'm grateful that they went with the version where he opened his eyes.
Yeah.
Because that was a lot more, like you said, it gave us hope. And I think what Keira Knightley said is perfect. Like, there's a lot, you have to have hope and faith in generations to help make change and make things better. And it goes hand in hand with the other things we got in this movie, because focusing on it being a planet issue, planet causing this because it's fed up, instead of it being a man-made fog or phenomenon that is going to cause harm or death to everyone. I like that the idea was the planet, because it was much better than what we saw in The Happening.
Yeah. This was that done right because they didn't focus on it really at all. It was a background fact of the movie, and it was focused more on the characters and their relationships and their journey through what's going on.
Yeah, and there were a lot of little character moments that we got in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we didn't have any background info, really, and then when they got together, you can tell that this is a group of people that were very, very close and had known each other a long time, with the exception of maybe Sophie. And then Alex also, who was Bella's wife. They'd known each other forever. And it makes sense that Nell would want to bring them all together, so they, it's this pact that they made. So it makes sense Nell wanted to bring them together for one last joyous time. It just was very strange at first before you really know what's going on.
Yeah. But yeah, of course, with that's the end of the movie. So that is all I have with art, only like almost an hour into the podcast. We've got through the first section. But like I knew, it's going to talk about him a lot, and then definitely nowhere near as much. We can kind of just run through other different characters at that point. But yeah, it was like he was the heart and the soul and the kind of centerpiece of this movie. So for sure, spend a lot of time on him.
Absolutely. That was what I took both times I watched this movie, he is the nucleus of everything. So we should probably move on to a few of the other characters. What do you think about going with Nell and Simon, his parents, and his brothers, Hardy
Thomas and Hardy. Tom Hardy? Was that on purpose? I don't know. Because Hardy's real name is Hardy. He really, he just got to be his self in this movie. Of course, Thomas was played by Gilby Griffin Davis. Because Thomas and Hardy played by Roman's real life younger twin brothers, as we mentioned. Gilby and Hardy Griffin Davis. Which is fun.
I like that. I really like, okay, we got the family resemblance with the 3 kids, and it just really felt authentic.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it so much. Like, I enjoyed the interactions that they had. I love that the kids were always playing Xbox, like, playing on Xbox or I guess it was a PlayStation.
Yeah.
Like, they're doing, they're doing things that kids would do.
Yeah.
Like, kids would choose to do that. If they knew that they didn't have a lot of time left, they're going to want to do fun things, and that's something that's fun.
But yeah, so that, the family there, Nell, Simon, Thomas, Hardy, I mean, you know how I am with just, like, there's certain actors and actresses and stuff, and I'm like, I always like seeing them on my screen, for various different reasons. And I will say, I always love having Keira Knightley on my TV screen. You know, it's never a bad time. So that's always great. And I don't really have to say, like from this and this and this, because she's been in a billion different things. Everyone knows who Keira Knightley is.
She's amazing. Very seldom is she in a movie that we get to cover, so I was glad to see her in this cast.
Yeah.
Because we really I don't think we've ever covered a movie with her in it.
I don't think so either, yeah.
So it's amazing to me that we were able to cover this. She's running around at the beginning, trying to get the house ready, and has her kid slicing vegetables. Yeah. Yeah, she's really into all of this, trying to welcome everyone, except they seem to not invited someone named Lizzie, and I have no idea who
I don't know who Lizzie is, but it seems she's more unpopular than even Kitty, because she doesn't get invited.
Definitely not. She was not invited to the weekend party. Yeah,
but everybody that is invited, is interesting because we get all of these people converging to the house, which we later learn is actually Nell's mother's house.
Yes.
That's kind of their childhood home, because it's got all the rooms, so it's kind of a really important place to all of them to get back together. Because I was a little confused at first when Sandra comes in, is like, I went ahead and claimed Nell's room, and it's like, why? That's her room that she lives in. And it's like, oh no, her childhood bedroom. That makes more sense once you figure that out. It was a fun, interesting cast of characters. So we'll talk about Simon also. You mentioned Watchmen and stuff, but honestly, I'll call out for him. Matthew Goode was in a movie called The Imitation Game, as was Keira Knightley. Both of them were in that together, which is another great film that I'm going to highly recommend people check out. Like Jojo Rabbit, doesn't fit the theme of this podcast, so I don't think we'd cover it. But if you walk away from this with anything, movie recommendations, watch Jojo Rabbit and then watch The Imitation Game, because that's a great one as well. Matthew Goode and Keira Knightley. And we've talked about a little bit of those other things. Again, I'd seen the trailer, so I knew what was coming loosely, vaguely, but those little hints, like on the drive, Sophie's wondering, do we have to go to Nell's? And James is like, well, yeah, it's like the importance of this Christmas. They're kind of trying to put that out. And of course the kids having the rule that they're able to swear, because it's like one last get together. No holds barred, right? Just might as well.
Except for one word.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So a lot of it's just kind of, we've talked about a lot of, because a lot of their stuff is in connection with art and those things. So really it's just kind of getting to the end of the movie again, where after they've realized art is dead, quote unquote, you get this tension of the moment where everyone is preparing to take the pills and they're all in separate rooms. Bella is feeling practically alone because Alex has passed out, and she's having to force feed her. But all these really tough things are kind of going on, but it all plays out with this tinge of humor, this running through line of humor of Simon having to continuously run back up and down for the sodas. Oh my gosh, yeah. Which, in a note, you see him dropping and picking them up, and I was like, that's all shaken up. And so it pays off when one of the kids opens it up, and I'm like, and there's a whole, oh my God, did you shake that up? Why? And then he's like, now there's not enough in my cup.
And he just does it.
It's so funny. It's so funny. It's one of those things, this is the most dread, horrible, emotional, just like soul-sucking scene where you know they're all preparing to die. And then you have this through line of him having to go back and up and down for the cokes. And it's just, I love that. I love it.
Because his wife's like, well, we promised. And then honestly, it did come across as entitled little kids.
But then also it's like, they're about to die. Might as well give them what they want.
Give them everything that they want.
Right? You might as well make sure they have enough Coca-Cola.
Exactly. It's like, is it warm? Yes, Daddy, it's warm. And he didn't question it. He just kept doing it.
Like, fine. Yes. Okay.
I'll get it. But he looked like, when he was sitting at the dressing table trying to figure out, he's getting the packets out and getting the pills out. You knew that he didn't want to do it, but he was doing it because he felt.
Well, yeah. Well, he'd officially seen now what it looks like if you don't.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, and you see.
Yeah, they took those pills very quickly after.
Yeah, and up until now, it's like, yeah, it's been the plan, it's the pact. They know that this is coming. It's not a drill. It's not a game. But it still has been hypothetical in the sense that, oh, yeah, we'll do that when the time comes. But it's now it's real. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was rough. Watching the adults come to terms and have conversations as they're taking these pills was so depressing. When we saw them dancing to fame like 15 minutes prior.
Mm-hmm.
And now they're faced with this.
Yeah.
You know they don't want to. But they're doing it because they don't want their children to suffer. And because they've seen, whatever the news has shown them, they've seen that no one has, no one's living after this. But I did get a glimmer of hope when James was talking with Simon and asking him, did you see any blood coming out of their eyes or their nose, or did you see any of these things? Because he I thought maybe what Art said got to him, and he's gonna figure out some way to protect everybody. That, of course, is not what happened. But I still had hope at that point that maybe something would come to fruition. But it did not.
No. All right. Anything else on them?
Yes. One thing with Nell. It was Nell and Sandra sitting down with the kids to talk about how it wasn't their fault. Killed me.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone's life matters, but we just want you to know, as your parents, we're not to blame. We love you. And I'm just like, who are you trying to convince in this? Mm-hmm. Because, just the way they were coming across is people who have had to make a really bad decision or a difficult decision, but they don't want their kids to hate them. And I'm like, pretty soon that's not even going to matter because they're all going to be dead. So I found that scene kind of strange.
Yeah, well, you see Sophie's like listening in on it, and then she walks out, which catches Art's attention for sure. She's just like, I can't sit here and listen to this.
Yeah. Let's talk about James and Sophie next, just because Sophie, I really liked her character.
Yeah, she's
probably
great.
Yeah. Out of all the adults, I think I liked her the most. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I really liked her.
Which is, of course, that is Lily Rose Depp that played Sophie, the daughter of Johnny Depp. Those who don't know. Yeah, and of course, we'll give a shout out for something that she's done. She's known for the cinematic masterpiece that is Yoga Hosers.
Didn't she also have a cameo in Tusk?
It's the same character. She was like a small bit in Tusk, and then they made an entire movie out of the character she played in that.
Oh my goodness.
With Yoga Hosers, which we might actually have to cover that. Just really? In a most ridiculous way.
Does it fit?
Absolutely it does.
Well, we've been trying to find a movie to cover with two of our friends. Maybe that's one that they
That
might
might
like
be.
to jump on.
I mean,
cover with
it's
us.
something about, two like teenage girls, clerks, at a gas station fighting off a bunch of Bratzies.
Oh God.
Nazi
Okay.
bratwurst. Yeah. It's an incredible movie.
Okay.
So maybe we should. Maybe Tusk also, but God, that movie is
That
yikes,
movie is just... I don't know what I was thinking when in side tangent. I don't know what I was thinking when I went to see that movie. But oh my God. It was not... Oh gosh.
Yeah.
I don't even know. There aren't words. I don't know about that. I mean, I love Kevin Smith, but I don't know about that movie.
Right.
But
yeah, the character Sophie, there's like a definite tension between her and the others. Like,
yes.
And some of it builds up even before this situation. It's like the fact that she's young. And even though it's never said or stated, probably the fact that she's American. There's just like a lot of things, but there's also like this deeper thing where she's talking about the importance of life regardless of person. And she's having this, I really wish I could know more. She's talking about the night that she had before. That she wanted to be a witness for something. And
this is what I thought it was. I think she and James were at the hospital when they administered the pills to the patients. And I think her wanting to be a witness for that meant she wanted to be there to comfort and just make sure they weren't alone.
Yeah.
That's
that makes
what
sense. That's what I figured. Yeah.
And I appreciated her reaction when people are talking about, they were talking about Queen Elizabeth, which of course Queen Elizabeth was alive at the time that this movie was filmed. And then Kitty is talking about, well, she's old anyway, she's old, and Sophie takes offense to that.
Yeah, especially if she just spent the whole last night with people in a hospital, probably a lot of elderly people.
Yeah. She wasn't having it, and I appreciated it.
And she was really trying to...
She said it.
Yeah. She was really trying to tell her kind of view and what she'd experienced, and she just keeps getting cut off by Simon. Yep. And it's like, it was a little frustrating. Like, I was like with the kids in that moment where I like want to keep asking her. And like, no, what happened? Like, I want to know. Let her keep talking, please.
Well, because the kids already knew what was going on. And it was at that point, around that time, that the kids just finally admitted to their parents, hey, we know what's going on. And then Kitty tried to blame it on the Russians. And that's when, Art came out and said, no, it's about the planet.
Yeah.
Tells everyone that they should be ashamed of themselves. Because kids don't have control over what happens to the planet, really. At that age, it's adults. And we as adults, and this is a little soapbox moment, need to do a fucking better job of taking care of this planet for the next generation.
Absolutely, yeah.
Getting off soapbox now.
But yeah, and of course when they first show up, there's this whole, like, the talk of the pact, and then, Sophie didn't know about the pact, and there's, this tension, but you're like, what are they talking about? And then it takes a little bit, and you're like, now we get it. Once the pills are introduced into the storyline, you're like, that's the pact, was the pills, and Sophie was not made aware of that, apparently.
No, and we find out that Sophie's expecting.
Which definitely makes that harder for her, and you can really, another one of those reasons where you see, her all life is precious view she's really on right now, and kind of her not enjoying the conversations that other people are having. Because, she's struggling with this idea of knowing that, like, there's this future that will never be. And that's to where even now with the choice that she's given, she's not sure she's going to take the pill.
Yeah.
She says that she's not sure. James says she's not sure. And then later she tells Art, like, I'm not going to do it. Which, it's a tough subject. Like, I get it, like, where she's at. It's like Art. She wants to hold on to this tiny little semblance of hope for a life other than her own. even, but she's also balancing this thought of she understands it's likely very pointless, and you could also just be choosing to suffer for the same result.
But you want the chance. You want the opportunity. So.
Also, James is the MVP for scoring medical marijuana from the hospital to bring to the party.
Oh my gosh.
Definitely. I want to be in the greenhouse with him. Come on. Sounds like a good time.
At that point, you just want to take the edge off, I think. You want everything to be chill because it's just so intense. I don't know how they kept it. Like like you were saying earlier, I don't know how I would react to the situation.
Yeah.
It just seems like so hopeless. It's like counting down to your demise, and it's just horrifying to think about that.
Yeah. But then, the end of their story is really interesting because we've had her on this, like, on the fence and then really deciding, no, I'm not going to. But then this moment where her and James together at that moment, at the end, when it's, minutes left to go, and James chooses that he's not going to take the pill if she doesn't, which I kind of hoped he would do because, like, Art was going to be like, I think it was Art saying, like, I'm going to be there for her. I don't want her to be alone. Yeah. And it made me think so her own boyfriend is going to leave her on her own if she chooses not to. Yeah. And so I like that he made that decision. He was like, even if it is horrific, he's like, if you don't do it, I won't do it. We'll suffer together because I love you that much, which then changes her mind because then her love for him takes over. So she chooses to take it so she can go peacefully with him, which is the weirdest remake of Sophie's Choice I've ever seen.
Oh my God.
I mean, technically that's really what it is.
Yeah.
I wonder if her being named Sophie was on purpose because of that.
Well,
I mean,
I wouldn't be
cyanide,
surprised.
Going out together. It's very much the same thing. And I was like, it's too much of a coincidence to be a coincidence. They purposely did that. I know it.
Yeah, she must have. She must have. Yeah, Sophie was definitely like my second favorite character after Art. I really liked her. I liked that she was questioning things and that she was trying to talk to Art, which no one else was really doing.
Yeah.
He was upset and she could tell, so she tried to talk to him. Was really trying to, even though Nell accused her of, meddling in their family. No one else was listening to him. So I think he needed someone to confide in, to talk to about this. Because his parents weren't listening. Yeah. They weren't, he's basically in a room screaming, not screaming, but you know what I mean. He's in a room trying to get someone's attention to talk about things, and every person he talks to basically disregards everything he says. And that's just, again, we've talked about this with other movies with kids that are, really bright. People don't listen. It's like, listen to the kids once in a while, please.
Well, she'd also found quite a, I don't know, like kindred spirit. I've used that before with him even, but like companion, somebody who's in the same boat. Like she's found somebody who's got like on the same wavelength of her in a way too.
Has hope. Yeah, I think they bonded over. Each of them tried to have some hope. But that's what I have. I feel like we only have 2 families left.
Yeah, so I would say we'll go with Sandra and Tony.
Kitty.
Next, of course, I at least early on in the movie, I felt a little bit of a closeness with Tony as well. Really just at the beginning while he's in the car. God, I love Christmas songs! And I was like, yep, that's me. Tony and me. You could ask Riley, who has to ride around in a car all over town with me, how much I love Christmas songs. Honestly, though, it's usually him demanding we listen to the Christmas music, so he encourages and shares my obsession, so it's fine.
Yeah, I actually live with someone who doesn't like Christmas music at all. So it's an interesting situation.
Oh yeah, like December 1st hits and it's like minimum like 80% of what I'm listening to is Christmas music. That's how it goes.
Yeah. Last year I did Whamageddon.
Oh yeah.
And I made it through. This year I did not even try.
No, I haven't heard. I've listened to Last Christmas, but it's the Jimmy Eat World cover that I listened to, so I'm good.
So you're good. Yeah.
Yeah, and then of course, Kitty, the cousin that nobody wants to put up with.
Oh my gosh. She just walks around like a spoiled brat.
Mm-hmm.
And her mother just caters to her so much. I think part of that is because the mother wants her love. Because Kitty just doesn't even call her mother Mom.
Mm-hmm.
She just treats her like she's just a woman. Like someone in her life, but not her mom. It's just so odd to me.
Yeah. Which then kind of a little bite back at her. I like that when they come in and she's got this gorgeous red party dress for the occasion. And, Nell's like, oh my God, where's that? And she's like, I used Kitty's college fund.
Yep.
Which, it's funny. I like that. But then again, it's like those little hints early on in the movie that like something weird is going on. It's like, why would you blow your kid's college fund on a dress for a Christmas party?
Exactly.
Or then it comes up the sticky toffee puddings, and then it's like the fact that she tells Tony, well, go break into a Tesco for the pudding if it's closed. And it's not as a joke, but like literally it was like, yeah, of course we could do that moment, Yeah,
this family or this group of people as a whole were not afraid to steal. As we'll find out with the next couple that we talk about.
Yeah.
They were just, it's the end of the world and we know it, basically.
Yeah. Of course, then Sandra, the whole thing, Sandra comes in and she's clearly got a thing for James, and it is not subtle. Even while they're in the car, like looking at the picture and then coming in and just won't stop hugging him. It's like, how did Tony not really realize until that conversation later?
Yeah, I don't know how he didn't. She was in the car talking about him. Looking at a picture of all of them together.
Yeah. Which, again, the dark humor, all of that. There's this moment where, because I think they're talking about Lizzie again or something, but basically the whole thing comes up as like, well, Kitty was brought along. And then there's like this, like, well, she couldn't leave Kitty at home alone. And there's this little moment where there's like a quick second guessing of that question that Sandra has. And it's like, she must be that annoying. Even her own mother's like, oh, yeah, I guess I couldn't. But wouldn't it have been nice?
Yeah. Yeah. Bratty child. That's for sure.
Man. But yeah, then that conversation in like the little like living room area is it's one of the highlights of this movie.
It really is.
She's kind of an idiot, which makes for some really fun quips and stuff. Like they're looking through all like the photos and they're reminiscing, and she goes, Nell was always the youngest, even though she wasn't. Apparently James was. And Bella was always the oldest. And I'm like, yeah, that's how time works, Sandra.
Yes. Unless someone new comes into your friend group,
right?
People are always going to be the youngest or the oldest.
And then I died laughing from the, you were very African when you arrived. You sounded like Mowgli from the Jungle Book. And then now, didn't Mowgli have an American accent? And then Alex, who is just 6 sheets to the wind at this point.
Yes.
I think Mowgli's from India. Like,
yeah, they're all confused at that point. And Alex was like sober and then started drinking there.
Yeah. But yeah, just like it's like how stupid Sandra is. It's like there's like levels to like how wrong she was with what she said. Mm-hmm. And then just the conversation about Sandra and James. And there, that was just very awkward and funny. I'm like, poor Tony. I love that, it's like, because Bella is even talking about stuff. And it's like, this isn't about Sandra and Tony. And he goes, clearly. Which,
no.
Great. And then, of course, the reveal about the teacher comes out, which is a little awkward. And then, like, was a shock to Tony that Alex had to literally spell out for him.
Yes. Nice use of Scrabble board twice. Yeah. Good job, Alex. Appreciated that.
She's there to help. Like, oh, we're not sure what we're talking about. That's what it is.
That's what it is. Liar.
Yeah. It was great.
I mean, they all pieced together basically that Sandra was upset that with everything happening, she never got to have sex with James. Like, and she loved him. They were BFFs. And I don't know how the teacher, I mean, it was basically the teacher seducing her that made James feel rejected. And then things were never the same. And then Tony's accusatory saying, well, you didn't do anything. You didn't try to help her. And it's just...
it was all very awkward. But then, like, poor Tony just looked over, it's like, it's like, everybody's just very much like, well, you're the boring one. Because even Bella is like, there's like the liar, the secret that like Bella and Tony hooked up. And it was like, I was doing you a favor. It's like, how is infidelity a favor? It's like, well, you know, I took one for the team because he's the boring old, and it's like, oh, you just feel bad. Which then I love because it leads to that before they take the pills.
Yes.
That like little moment where he's like, have I always been boring? And the best answer Sandra can come up with is, you're so much more than that. And it's like, so yes, yeah.
I know. Yeah, I like that. I like the honesty in that. I like that Sandra was Sandra in that moment and said, yes. I like that because I thought that was true to who her character is. She's not gonna, sugarcoat it. But you could tell that they really care about each other. It's not like she's with Tony because he was like the last man on Earth. It was, they have a mutual affection for each other. It's just she is really attracted to James. That is just apparent from the beginning.
Yeah.
I really, at the end, all she wanted really was for Kitty to hug her, to be close to her. And I liked that at the end, Kitty went and got her doll because for some reason this affected the parents quicker.
Yeah.
Kitty went and got her doll and crawled up between her parents and cuddled with her mother. And I appreciated that a lot because their relationship was just really bizarre to me at times.
Yeah, it was. But yeah, all right. Well, that's all the notes I've got on them.
Yep. So that leaves us with Bella and Alex.
Yeah, the last little bit here. So again, back to the beginning, which they're the first couple we really see listening to this song in the car. Which, strangely enough, as much as I like Christmas music, I had not heard this one before. It's a Christmas Sweater, Michael Bublé. But I was with Alex. I was like, yeah, I like it. It's catchy. It's fun.
Did you add it to your Christmas playlist?
I didn't, but I will. I need to. It probably already is on there, and I've got like a few thousand songs on there, so it just has never shown up whenever I listen every year. But yeah, and then quickly on, because then I was like, I'm going to be super into this soundtrack, because there's that one, and then the second song in the movie, we get Jose Feliciano's Feliz Navidad, which always great. That one, I think that's Riley's favorite Christmas song, although he is partial to the Bowling for Soup cover.
Okay.
But yeah, he always gets cheesy whenever Feliz Navidad's going on, so...
You're going to have to let Riley listen to this one because you've mentioned him a couple times and he's, he's cool, so.
Yeah. So again, back on the casting kind of thing. Alex is played by the actress Kirby. Just one word, one name, Kirby. Not the pink fluffy character from Nintendo, but the actress. Who was in The Good Place. People recognize her from that, which is great. But also... other people might recognize her. She was absolutely stellar, phenomenal, killer, wink wink, in the Sandman series on Netflix.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay, I'm still about halfway through that series. I may actually have to start over. It's been long enough. Well, Bella is played by Lucy Punch, who I've seen in a million things in the world of British television. She also is in, I believe she's in Hot Fuzz.
Uh-huh.
Yep, she plays Eve Draper in Hot Fuzz. Mm-hmm. Another movie that we need to cover.
Yes, for sure. Yeah, I liked the character of Alex, because she was just very, like, even as, like, Bella, like, explains about her, she's, like, she's fragile and she's, like, so sweet and just loves everything and everybody, and there's not a single, like, mean bone in her body. And then to that point, she almost seems kind of, you know, naive or unaware of things going on. You know, she's just the doe-eyed, just like, oh my god, I don't know what's happening, but...
we're not having Trivial Pursuit?
I know. It's like she seems to like everything and everyone that the other people don't. And she's always disappointed in the things that aren't happening.
She likes Lizzie.
Yeah. I like Lizzie. It's like, and that's what I love about you. Of course you do.
Yes, of course you do.
Which, just a lot of the humor with her character is great. And again, that awkward scene with that conversation. Mm-hmm. She is living for the Scrabble and the tea. Just like as she's following the lines of everybody, like what they're talking about, and she's just nodding along, or, you know, as Bella is talking, well, here's why it's okay that I slept with Tony, because I was doing this favor and that, and the way she's just like nodding and like, well, yeah, logically that makes sense.
Yeah,
yes, of course.
Yeah, there were reactions that she had that made me laugh.
Yeah, she's just sitting back enjoying all of the gossip and the truth and confessions that are coming out, which Nell and Simon also were. They're just giggling to death over there on the couch with each other. Like, it was an awkward, funny, but also like really cute scene.
They were kind of cute together.
Oh,
honestly.
Absolutely. Yeah.
The two of them. They were very cute together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then but Alex did seem kind of off the whole movie. And like for different reasons. Like, I don't know, it was like not necessarily, like at first I thought maybe she just feels like an outsider, which maybe is still partially true. Because like a lot of the time, like she just kind of felt like on the outside and people really were ignoring her, not talking, or even her own partner, wife.
Yeah.
You know, like Bella's even just kind of ignoring her most of the movie. And then she just continues to drink alone until she's just so drowsy and wasted that she just like
had
passes
to take a
out.
nap.
And then Bella's even mentioning, it's like, you made a promise not to do this. And it's like, about, like what? Like,
the world's ending.
Yeah.
I think I can let it out.
Mm-hmm. But so she passes out and she falls asleep. So Bella goes back out. And then Bella's talking with, is it Sandra? Or Sophie? I don't remember.
I think it was Sandra.
I think Sandra.
In the hallway.
Yeah.
They were having a very serious discussion about what's coming and not wanting to live.
Yeah. Yeah, it was Sandra. Because, again, like at that moment, I was like, okay, Bella might be my favorite character. Because she has a line that just cracked me up.
I think I know what one it
she goes,
is. I think
she's
I know
like,
what one it is.
she's like, I've seen the road. I can't live like that. I can't do post-apocalyptic monochrome. Which, great line. Really funny. And it's like, I haven't seen it, should I? No. No,
definitely not. Unfortunately for Bella, we get down to the last few minutes. She had 5 minutes. Because I guess after you take the pill, it takes like 5 minutes to work. Unfortunately, because Alex had been drinking, she threw up the pill that Bella had forced down her throat.
Yeah. Which, again, I call it out so much, just the dark humor of it was like, this is not funny. It should be funny. It's like, it shouldn't be funny. It's horrible.
But
and
it
yet,
is funny.
I'm laughing and laughing and laughing. Is Bella struggling to get into the bed with Alex after she's given her the pill? And she's like trying to curl up next to her and then like falling out. So finally she's like, okay, fine, we're doing head to foot, whatever. It's just, I'm up here with her. And then that moment when Alex gets up and vomits out the pill. And then I was like, that's especially dark. Because then there's this moment where she's just like, fuck, that's not how this is supposed to go. But then it creates an almost perfectly beautiful bookend for Bella and Alex, because again, the song that Bella said that she hated, that Michael Bublé song that, Alex was playing in the car and she's like, oh my God, this song. And she's like, what? I like it. Bella puts that same song back on to bookend and they're dancing to it together in those last minutes, with all that she has before the pill takes over, which was really sweet. And then it ends a little messy. It's the thought that counts, right? I guess a knife in the side is still less pain and agony than the poison, maybe? I mean, not to get too
I don't know.
Morbid.
I
Not
wondered
too
that
grim, but I mean,
myself.
it doesn't look like Art had a good time struggling.
Yeah, no.
So I don't know. Maybe it wouldn't. Maybe it still was better. I don't know. But it was just like, take that really beautiful bookend moment, and then you're like, no, we're going to throw in a stab.
I saw her grab the knife, and I thought, please don't do it. Please don't do it. But she did it anyway. And they collapsed basically on the floor together, so they were close when they died.
Yeah.
Yeah. This was a rough one overall. It had a lot of fun moments, though. Yeah, it's just the ending was bleak and sad. And there were moments that were depressing, but it was also full of the dance scene where they were all dancing to Fame. If you look at the lyrics to that song, it talks about we're gonna make it to heaven, light up the sky like a flame, like those. Yeah, it definitely, I feel like that song was chosen for a reason, because honestly, I don't think any of them would have danced to that song. That is not a song that would have been out during their, era. Because it came out way back in 81. So I feel like they would have danced to something else. But that song, Fame, fit really well within the story. So kudos to Camille Griffin for that. We often talk about music as a character, and I think music played a big part in this film as well, even the score.
All right. So, yeah, that was the last little group of characters. I
think we covered it, Pake.
I think I'm done. All of my notes are done. This was a longer one, much longer than I even expected it to be, but we did it. I was a little worried. I didn't know, because, Rotten Tomatoes and, IMDb score and stuff was low, but I think I loved this movie. I actually really enjoyed what it was. It's scored that way. I think I've understood. It's the movies like this, where it's kind of branded as, a horror film or a disaster film, but then people go in with the expectations of it being that, and then they've set up different expectations for it, and then they get mad when it's not that, and it is more of a drama, dark comedy drama character piece is what this is.
I agree. I think people were probably thrown off by the ending. I think that may have frustrated a few hundred people. But I think having watched it the second time, I think helped me, honestly. Because at first, I just kept thinking, is Pate going to watch this and is he going to want us to cover it? Or is he going to say, no, we got to pick a different movie? But as time went on, I started thinking about it more. We've covered some dark, sad, depressing movies before. So this isn't a surprise. It's very much within our wheelhouse to do movies like this.
Yeah. I
wonder what our listeners think of this one.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. See if anybody watches it and checks it out. And almost as if on cue. There goes the feedback phone, and we can see what you have to say.
It's the feedback phone.
Go get that answer. All right, we do have some feedback this week. Of course, these first two actually for last week's movie, Barbarian, which we've had a few people kind of reaching out and giving feedback after our episodes and after listening to us, which is great. I love that too. So that's been fun. Talking about Barbarian, this first one comes from Tony. Says, Justin Long is absolutely incredible as this sleazy Hollywood guy. I loved how both male characters could go into a murder room and completely disregard the fact that they are in a murder room. Really good movie. First half fairly scary. Second half surprisingly funny and gross. Fun watch.
Thank you, Tony. I agree. Justin Long did a great job as that Hollywood guy. I wasn't sure at first, but he really pulled it off. The next one that we have is also about Barbarian, and it's from Lara. It says, great review, Pake and Daphne. If you want Zach's take on the movie, check out this interview with him. And she shared a link to an interview that Zach Kreger did with Too Scary Didn't Watch podcast. She goes on to say, in addition to Pennywise, Bill Skarsgård plays an excellent villain in John Wick 4, and another creepily charming antagonist in Eli Roth's Hemlock Grove on Netflix. I also saw him in that. Like, I really enjoyed that series a lot. Only was a couple of seasons, but he was great in it. An Under the Radar series that was really fantastic for horror fans, and I have to agree. It was really good.
Yeah, I still haven't seen it. It was like on the list when it first came out, and then just a billion other things, and then it's gotten lost and buried in the shuffle of years and years of stuff. So maybe I should go back and give that a watch. But I will say I did watch John Wick 4, and yes, he was great there for sure.
Yeah, unlike movies, which I can put on our list for us to record, I can't do that with a TV series, so I guess you're out of luck there.
And then we do have one piece of feedback for our movie this week here for the Christmas special, Silent Night. Comes from Catherine. Says, I mixed this up with Better Watch Out and was very confused for the first 15 minutes, thinking I had forgotten what the boy looked like and wondering where the babysitter was. Which is funny. By the way, Better Watch Out? Maybe Christmas special next year. Just thinking in advance. I don't know. I'm trying to remember if I've seen it. I don't think I've seen it. I've seen The Babysitter, which is
I think I may have.
Gets confused with that one.
I think it was one of those things to have on in the background. Mm-hmm. Yes.
So maybe we'll jump to that one next year. I don't know. We'll keep it in mind because I haven't seen that one. I'm curious about that. Anyway, Catherine goes on and saying, so my mind was prepared for a dark comedy, but not quite for a suicide party before the apocalypse. Personally, I'd throw a slumber party rather than a fancy dress-up dinner. If I'm going out, I want to be comfy. I absolutely adore Art, breaking up serious discussions by questioning if he could hit Kitty, how Tommy's mom hates him so she's probably giving him the pill, and is that cool with you after he reveals his plan to stay alive to hold Sophie's hand while she dies. I cracked up at the dad trying to unbox the pills and getting interrupted by all the problems with the cokes. Yes.
Me too.
But emotions almost immediately dropped with the stabbing of Alex and what I thought was the death of Art. Somehow seeing he survived was worse. Will he just die alone when the larger gas cloud comes through, or is he somehow immune, and will then have to figure out how to survive? Overall, great movie. There were a few slow spots in the middle, and I didn't feel any connection to most of the characters, but somehow the end was still emotional.
You know, I have to agree with some of what she said. I do think the ending was emotional, but I did connect with a couple of the characters. Like, not all of them, but there were a few. Art, definitely.
There were a few, yeah. Oh, yeah. We stand our boy Art around here.
Always. And Sophie, too. Like, I feel like I connected with her as well, because she seemed to be the only one that was questioning, you know, the kids and keeping the truth from them and just everything. She went into the hospital to be there when they were releasing all the patients and giving them their pills. And I think that's an incredibly kind thing to do, to want to witness and be support for that. Well, if you would like to submit feedback like Tony, Lara, or Catherine, we would love it. If you would go find us on Facebook and Instagram at Run for Your Lives Podcast. You can also email us if you want to send a voicemail. You can send it to runforyourlivespodcast@gmail.com. And if you're enjoying the show, please tell your friends. We are available on all other podcast players, including Apple, Spotify, and YouTube. You can go to runforyourlivespodcast.com for all the links you'll ever need, and give us a review on Apple Podcasts, as that is the best way to share the love and get us out there even more. We really appreciate it.
Absolutely, we do. We appreciate it a lot. Keep sending that feedback. Keep listening. Happy holidays, everybody. Yeah, I really appreciate that. That's your gift to us is listening and giving the feedback, especially. We really love that. So thanks. Of course, speaking of sharing the love, always got to give those shout outs to things going on in the podcast universe around us. Always kick off with my other podcast, Strange Indeed. Still on a little break for the holidays. We'll be back next year sometime covering something. I don't know. We'll let you know. Stay tuned. But lots of other great stuff going on Podcastica, of course, on the network. Lots of great stuff. The cast of us doing their Walking Dead rewatch right now. So they are into season 2, coming back into there. So they've been doing that. So if you're a big Walking Dead fan, going all the way back to the beginning with the cast of us, really great. What If comes out like today? I think today, right now, as we're talking about this, it might be out, season 2. So definitely check that out, What If, because Kirk and Lenny just recapped season 1 and like all their hopes kind of for season 2. And then I think Kirk is heading up season 2. Who knows what kind of different guests and stuff that he'll have on with that, but I'm super excited for that to hit. Because, yeah, it'll be fun. And I think the release schedule is a little different for that, where they're doing it like daily instead of weekly or something.
It is.
It's interesting.
I'm not sure about that. They could have released it all at once, maybe, versus this daily thing. But you know what? They get to make the decisions.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah. So as far as the podcast release, I'm not sure. But go check out over on House Podcastica and stuff in see what they're doing over there. I'm sure on this episode they might talk about that. Also, the Revisited podcast with Ben and Kristen still going through Ted Lasso. So they have been covering that show, going through that. So if you're a fan of that, definitely go check that out and join the rewatch with them. Squid Game cast is going as we're still getting ready for the upcoming season 2 of the Korean drama Squid Game. So they covered the challenge as it was running. Daphne was a part of a lot of that. Might have got a special message from one of the contestants.
I might have. Very, very much loved my Christmas present from a certain person that may or may not be on this podcast.
Maybe. Yeah. And then, so right now they're covering first season of the Korean drama. They're episode 5 this week. Put that out. Jason and David on that one. So definitely check those out as a Squid Game fan. Great coverage, rewatching. Well, not really rewatching. They're covering it as if the first time, even though they've seen it. But yeah, definitely just preparing and getting ready for that season 2. Still Slaying is back in action, wrapping up some season 2 of Buffy episodes over there, Kara and Penny. So you can definitely go check them out as well. And then, of course, House Podcastica, Wilhelm working together to cover Monarch, Legacy of Monsters, the Apple TV Monsterverse show, Godzilla, Kong, that universe. That's been a really fun show to watch with just the Russell men.
Yeah, I love that. Son. I love that it's clever.
Kurt and Wyatt Russell.
Yeah,
it's great.
It's so
I love
clever
that,
the way that they're doing it.
So that's been really great. And then lastly, I saved this one for last because it's not a TV show, but Podcastica's got something new going on. If you are a fan of improv comedy, improv, stuff like that, just audio form only though. So a lot of great, voice work and just great off the cuff improvisational skills. We have the Welcome to the Apocalypse podcast, new to Podcastica, headed off by our friend Randy, of course, and having mainly it's Randy and
Robert and Jenny.
Rob, yeah. Randy, Rob, Jenny, doing, kind of their characters, and then they're going to have a rotating cast of guest voice actors, people that come in, different people to play different roles and improvise in this zombie apocalypse kind of comedic thing. I definitely want to be a part of that. I think I'm getting myself scheduled in sometime in the next year. I'm looking forward to it. I've already been playing around with trying to figure out, and I think I've got a character down. I don't know if Randy's going to tell me what I got to do or if I get to bring my own flair to it, but either way, I'm playing with some ideas. So it should be fun. So if you're kind of in the fan of just really goofy humor and comedy and improv stuff, definitely check that out because the first episode is a lot of fun and it's out now.
Yeah, I think he's intending to do some different types of apocalypse stuff too eventually. Weave in some different types of stories in there, not just zombies. So yeah. I'm really interested. And I can't wait for the next episode.
Yes, it's so much fun. Can't wait to listen to more and can't wait to be a part of it someday. It'll be really fun.
He's got a great pool of people to pull in for it. So
yeah, so definitely lots of great podcasts and stuff going on. You can go to podcastica.com, find all of that and more. So definitely check that out and give the love to some really great podcasts and podcasters that we know and love in our network here. A lot of great stuff.
Absolutely.
But aside from that, of course, you can always come right back here next week for kind of like a New Year's special, even though it has nothing to do with New Year's. It's not a special. It's just a regular episode, but we're releasing it the weekend before New Year's. Last episode of 2023. What are we going to be doing in that?
Well, we've teased it a little bit. We are going back to seasons 1 through 4, and we're going to reveal the winners of our Riffle Run for Your Lives awards for those seasons as well. The last 2 seasons, we've had a lot of fun breaking things down by our categories, and so we wanted to apply all of that to the first 4 seasons of Run for Your Lives.
Mm-hmm. Which, it was interesting, because going back and taking just like our top 5, top 10 lists that we did the, look back specials originally, the way we did them, and taking those as new nominees and then having to fight each other over there, which one actually gets to win. And sometimes it was the number ones that we kind of agreed on, and sometimes there was a little hidden number, 9 or 8 or something that kind of snuck in, and over time we've decided, you know what? They deserve a little more respect. So it was really interesting to go through there and pick winners, to where now officially after this comes out and you've listened to that, maybe I'll have a little somewhere we can come up with a little graphic or something that we can update where we have our shelf of award winners and stuff, our Hall of Fame or something somewhere. That'd be fun.
You know what? I was thinking the same thing. So we can put our heads together and come up with something.
Yeah. Yeah, so that'll be fun. So definitely, if you like the look back specials, which I know a lot of people do, this is a special look back special, because we're look-backing? Maybe looking back would be the word we use. Those first 4 seasons again to really pick winners. So that'll be fun.
Mm-hmm. Well, and with that, Pake, we've reached the end of our episode. Thanks for listening, everyone. I'm Daphne.
And I'm Pake.
And if you have to run, you better run for your lives.
Bye-bye.